How many times have you heard this line? Wow, you are so lucky you get to do what you love for a living. First of all, let me just say yes, we are the lucky ones. If you are a musician who is actively performing and getting paid to do it, you are already living the dream. Your achievement and success is more than many musicians will ever experience. Yes, it took a lot of hard work to get there, but you have so much to be grateful for. Still, I always want to laugh when people say that to me because I feel like I get paid to do all the other things that it takes to run a business, and then I just do the performance for fun. If you're in the trenches already, you know exactly what I mean.
Are you a classically trained violinist dreaming of stepping out of the orchestra and into the spotlight, but maybe the world of solo gigs feels intimidating? You're not alone. Welcome to The Glam Violinist, the podcast that empowers classically trained musicians to build thriving careers as sought-after entertainers. I'm your host, Celeste V, and each week we'll break down the secrets to getting the gigs you've been dreaming of. Get ready to unleash your inner rock star and turn your passion into a paycheck. Let's get glamorous.
So we started on this topic last week, and I hope that with a little bit of self-exploration, you discovered that your own experiences have prepared you for success in a way that you may not have realized. I shared my own story of how I got to where I am today, and I pointed out all the skills and the experiences that I gathered along the way that really helped me to create the life that I have now. So let's back up to those years when I was first building my solo violin business, before I had a team. What did those days look like? You have heard the term wearing all the hats, and that's exactly what I was doing. Every business owner has to do that to an extent when they're first starting out, no matter what industry they're in. So, what are all of these hats? What did I actually do all day? Pretty much the same thing that I'm doing now, but all by myself. A little bit of music, a lot of marketing, some sales, some customer service, plus sprinkle in some graphic design, web development, audio and video editing, and a whole lot of entrepreneurial spirit and problem solving. And you've got the magic concoction to both create and to grow a thriving music business. Let's start with the obvious. First, you're going to put on your musician hat and create a set list for different types of events that you plan to do. I drew from my years of playing in top 40 bands, which means a lot of classic hits from across the decades, plus a splash of some more recent chart toppers. But everyone is different. I still recommend a little something for everyone. You'll choose the songs, purchase your backing tracks, create the mashups, and practice until you can play them without thinking about it. This part is really important. The better you know the songs, the better an entertainer you're going to be. And that entertainment aspect is what will make you stand out from the competition. Remember, you want lots of smiles and eye contact with your audience. If you're going to ask them to pay a premium price, you're going to need to provide a world-class experience. That means practicing and learning your mashups and your sets really well so you can focus on engaging with your guests. Part of this process is finding the right software to play your backing tracks. I've said this before, but I strongly discourage anyone from streaming during a gig. There's just way too many things that can go wrong. If you're planning to plug into speakers that are provided by a DJ, you're going to want to use a laptop, not a phone or iPad, because the adapters that those devices use to connect to the mixer are really not that reliable. Either way, the songs need to be downloaded to your device well ahead of time so there's no chance of interruptions. And that's pretty much the only part of this business that is directly music related. So you can go ahead and take off your musician hat for now. Everything else I'm going to talk about in the rest of this episode is the same or similar to what any other entrepreneur or business owner does all day. So let's dive in. You're going to need to set up a booking process. So grab your sales manager hat and do a little reading about a sales funnel if you don't already know what that is. First, you'll need to create a contact form that collects your inquiries, ideally on your own website. But of course, you can use GigSalad, The Bash, The Knot, platforms like that if you don't already have your own site yet. You need to be able to send contracts and collect signatures, and you need to be able to accept different forms of payment. You can use Zelle or Venmo, but when given the choice, 95% of my clients prefer to pay with a credit card. So I recommend making that an option at least. Anything you can do to lower the barrier to entry for your potential clients is a good thing. I've used a lot of different software programs over the years, but HoneyBook is by far the best. It's a relatively new kid on the block, but they understand the gig industry really well, and the workflow is geared towards people like us. If you're not already using it, I highly recommend giving it a try. Once the gig is booked, you're going to switch hats again and become a performance coordinator. To do this, you're going to need an organized system for collecting details, timelines, song requests, and things like that. If you're performing for very large, complex events, you're going to spend a lot of time coordinating details with the client and with other decision makers, plus the planner, DJ, and venue. This part can get really tedious, but it's super necessary to make sure that everything flows smoothly on the event day. These high-end clients expect everything to run like clockwork, like a scene from a movie, and you've got to do it with no rehearsal, no dry run-through, no familiarity with the space, and often no sound check. At our gigs with Violent Event Entertainment, we rarely perform in one location, so that also means we're setting up and performing, then moving and setting up again in multiple spaces. You want to be really clear about the logistics and the division of responsibilities for special songs. Don't overlook this crucial step. Spend whatever time it takes to make sure you, the client, and the DJ and the planner are all 100% on the same page. Again, I use HoneyBook for recording most of this information, but there's a healthy mix of email, texting, phone calls, WhatsApp, WeTransfer, and Google Drive in that mix. Okay, this next section is where I spend about 60 to 70% of my time. This is where you become your own chief marketing officer. I'm going to break this into sections. There's branding, media, that's your photos and videos, website, social media, networking, email marketing, and paid ads. Most of the work that you do to promote yourself and get the gigs is going to fall into one of these categories. Before you even start on your marketing, you're going to want to ask yourself a few questions and put together a marketing plan. Like millions of other businesses around the world, I am a huge fan of Donald Miller's story brand approach. He provides a clear, step-by-step guide to help you decide how you position yourself and your services. It's not my story to tell, but if you're interested, I highly recommend reading his books, especially Building a Story Brand, Business Made Simple, and Marketing Made Simple. Once you're really clear on who your target audience is, what problem they're facing, and how you can solve that problem, you're ready to start marketing yourself. The first step in marketing is branding. To keep it simple, that just means designing a logo and choosing your colors and fonts so that your brand is consistent across all of your marketing platforms and collateral. Your brand guidelines PDF should be on hand and consulted constantly when you're creating any type of marketing. We'll call this the graphic design hat. And Canva is your best friend for this. It's great to know how to do at least some of the basics on your own so you can create logos, social media posts, business cards, website content, and all of that fun stuff. Next, you need to create and organize your media so that it's easy to share with clients. If you don't already have professional looking photos and videos, I would pause everything at this point and do that first. Go check out episode 4 for a how-to guide for creating a demo video. You're going to wear a lot of crazy hats during this process, and if they're not fun for you, you can always hire outside help with these tasks. Audio engineer, videographer, and video editor. Ideally, you're also going to need to set up some kind of space and buy some basic equipment so that you can record yourself at home. You can always rent a professional studio from time to time, but that cost can add up in both time and money. The filming part is much easier with a second person, but I have done it on my own with a tripod and made it look like there was a live videographer there with some fancy editing during post-production. There are tons of great video editing software options if you decide to learn how to do this yourself. Or you can outsource it using Upwork or Fiverr, as I've mentioned. Even with a great looking demo video, you don't want to get lazy about capturing live performance videos. Fresh and consistent content is invaluable when it comes to booking future clients, especially when you're in your element, working with your perfect target audience. Don't let that opportunity slip away without capturing it on film. Once you have your photos and videos, you're going to put on your web developer hat. Choose your domain name and where you'll host it, design the site, and brush up on those copywriting skills unless you want to hire out the copywriter hat. Remember to keep your story brand at top of mind during this process. Make it about your clients, not about you. And stick to those colors and fonts you already decided on when you created your brand guidelines. Are you ready to launch your site? Now you get to become Chief Technology Officer and learn about website hosting and DNS records and CNAMEs and software integrations and all the things. For the record, this is one of the very first things I outsourced because it's so time-consuming and tedious for me personally. I've always loved designing my own websites, but I get super overwhelmed and frustrated when it comes to troubleshooting the technical aspects. Either way, you're going to want to understand the basics here so you can decide little things like personalization. Do you want to stick with an email address like celestev@gmail, or do you want to personalize it to use your domain using Google Workspace? Okay, now you've got your website launched, but if you want the world to find it, you need something called SEO, or search engine optimization. Those are keywords and regularly updated content that help Google and other search engines know you exist. You can go down a really deep rabbit hole learning and optimizing, but if you want to get the most out of your site, you're going to want to put at least a little effort into this. Another way you can direct people to your website is through social media. I don't personally enjoy this part as much as some people do, so I delegated my social media manager hat to someone else as quickly as I could. Don't get me wrong, I still approve every post, and I helped to create the pillars and the templates that we use every day, but I don't do the day-to-day posting if I can avoid it. I'm far from an expert in this area, but you can bet I'll be bringing some people onto this show who are passionate about creating content and building an audience. You do what works for you, but here are the basics. You're going to want to choose which platforms you focus on. I primarily focus on Instagram, Google, and YouTube, but we repurpose our content and we post it on Facebook, Pinterest, LinkedIn, and in other places from time to time. When you're just getting started, I highly recommend focusing on just one or two platforms. Then you're going to choose your social media pillars. It's important that you have a strategy for your content. It helps to keep your brand consistent, and it also helps you to figure out what to post when you're faced with a blank canvas. Every single post should fall under one of your pillars. As a performer, you'll obviously want live performance videos along with maybe some reviews or frequently asked questions or whatever else you think your followers are going to want to hear from you. Make sure that the content you're creating is adding value or improving your audience's lives in some way, or they'll lose interest. Next, create a posting schedule and stick to it. I know everyone says you have to post 5 times a week minimum, but that is just not realistic for me or for most busy people. Do what works for you, but stay consistent. If that's 1 post a week, make it a good one. If you can commit to 2 or more, great. Just keep in mind that what you post will define the types of events you book. This means that you may not post photos or videos from every single event that you perform at. If it doesn't elevate your brand or help your potential clients to envision you at their event, I would recommend that you leave it off your profile grid. High quality content is way more important than frequent content, in my opinion. And don't forget that engaging with your audience is just as important, if not more so, than posting. Reply to every comment. Follow people you want to work with and comment on their posts. These actions can go a long way toward getting you noticed. Another super important piece of marketing strategy should be networking. We'll call this being your own director of community engagement. Join the local Facebook group for your target audience. Attend community networking events. Invest in a booth at your local bridal show. And don't forget to network whenever you're at an event. Don't leave the venue until you have followed every single vendor there on Instagram and exchanged contact info. These relationships that you build at the events that you're performing at, Those are what helped me to grow, probably more than any other single factor when I first started my business. And to this day, I value those relationships, both new and old, more than anything. Email marketing is an often overlooked way to stay connected with people who are interested in what you do. Here's what's crazy. Litmus recently released a study that showed that email marketing generates an average of $36 of revenue for every $1 spent on email. That is a crazy return on investment, y'all. If that doesn't incentivize you to create a great lead generator on your website and start collecting email addresses, I don't know what will. Don't let this one slip through your fingers. Your email campaign manager hat is made out of pure gold if you do it right. You might be wondering about paid ads. Yes, that's always an option, but I'd focus first on what you can do without spending a lot of money on advertising. Get listed on every free site that you can find and focus on SEO and organic growth. Down the road, you might want to invest in some paid ads, but I definitely wouldn't start there. Okay, moving on from marketing. I swear it feels like that's all I do sometimes, but there are a few other logistics and no-fail tasks that a musician entrepreneur has to handle. One is bookkeeping. Your bookkeeper hat can be worn by you or by someone you trust, but it has to be done. I highly recommend QuickBooks Solopreneur, that was formerly QuickBooks Self-Employed, because it easily allows you to separate your personal transactions from your business income and expenses. It also helps you to log your gig mileage and capture receipts and so much more. It won't scale with you if you plan on growing a team, but it's great if you're just working on your own, and it will help you prepare for tax season. Another trend I'm noticing increasingly in the last few years is venues requiring every vendor to provide a COI for the event. A COI is a certificate of insurance where you list the venue as additional insured on your existing insurance policy for a specified period of time, basically during the event. I think every gigging musician should have insurance, but you may find that you don't have a choice if you run into this at one of your events. The company I use is called Specialty Insurance Agency, and they are geared toward unique performers like us. Their policies are reasonable and will give you some peace of mind for a small yearly fee. Whew, okay, I've probably left so much out, but let me tell you, this podcasting adventure has been so eye-opening. I thought I was going to run out of topics after a few weeks, but the more I share, the more I realize that each little bullet point is an entire episode in itself. We're going to unpack all of these treasure troves together if you stick around for this journey, and I promise to keep it real and as fun as possible. So today we went behind the curtain to see what makes a musician entrepreneur tick. This is what I do all day and what my team does all day so that our violinists can go out there and just perform. So if it's a little overwhelming, that's okay. Take a step back and choose one thing to focus on. Start with a great demo video. And if you decide you don't want to do the other stuff, hit me up. Violin Event Entertainment is a full-service entertainment agency that does all the messy stuff so our violinists don't have to. If you have the skills and you're the right fit for our company, we would be honored to add you to our roster and recommend you to our clients in your area, anywhere in the US. We haven't quite expanded overseas yet, but we'd love to connect with you either way. You can visit www.vee.llc or send us an email at info@vee.llc if you're interested in learning more about working with us. And that's it for today. I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, will you please share this episode with at least one friend who wants to learn more about being a solo musician? Also, be sure to subscribe to this podcast, and you can follow me on Instagram at TheCelesteV. That's VEE. While you're there, feel free to send me a DM with your questions and any topics you'd like to hear more about on future episodes. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of The Glam Violinist. I'm excited you're here, and I truly can't wait to watch you grow no matter where you are on this journey. We're in this together, and I believe in you. Until next time, this is Celeste V, reminding you to stay glamorous.